I thought I could handle it, that I could balance the power with my own will. But I couldn't. And I knew, in the deepest corners of my heart, that this was no longer a blessing. It was a curse. The success, the wealth, the recognition, they all came at a price. A price I was no longer willing to pay. It was a quiet afternoon when I first realized the true extent of my descent. I had been riding high on success for months, perhaps even years. But the emptiness within me had grown too loud to ignore. The rituals were becoming more frequent, more intense, and the spirit's demands were like a constant hum, always at the back of my mind. I couldn't escape it. I couldn't sleep without feeling their presence pressing on my chest, suffocating me with their hunger. I was driving down the street one day, one of the few times I had ventured outside for something other than business. My mind was a mess, overwhelmed with the pressure to maintain my power, my success. The weight of it was crushing. And then, out of nowhere, a voice interrupted my thoughts, a voice I didn't recognize, yet it felt strangely familiar. I heard it like my mother's. It told me that I couldn't keep living like this. That it wasn't too late to stop. I froze in my tracks. I had heard the voice before, soft, gentle, yet full of authority. It was a voice that spoke of truth, of something higher than the spirits I had come to obey. I looked around, half expecting to see someone nearby, but the street was empty. I felt a chill run down my spine. I had been so used to the voices of the spirits, their demands, that this voice, felt like a lifeline. But it wasn't just a voice. It was something more, a presence. The voice came again, and this time it said that it didn't have to be this way. That I could break free. That I had the power to choose. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of hope that I had forgotten existed. I remembered the days when I had wanted to be a businesswoman, not just for the wealth and power, but because I believed in something greater, something meaningful. I had long since abandoned those ideals, but now, in the middle of the street, they came rushing back. I hadn't realized how far I had fallen until that moment. I had been so consumed by the idea of success that I had lost sight of everything that mattered. I had sacrificed parts of myself that could never be reclaimed. And now, I was left hollow, a puppet of the spirits who had promised me everything. I had thought I was in control. I had convinced myself that I was choosing this path. But in truth, it had been leading me towards something far darker. I remembered the first time I had met the prophet, the promises of wealth, power, and success. He had made it all sound so innocent, so easy. But now, it was clear to me that everything had been a lie. The success I had once craved felt like a prison. Each promotion, each new opportunity, was only a chain that bound me deeper into the darkness. He had called it divine power, but now I knew the truth. What I had been following was not divine at all. It was demonic. It was a system of manipulation, of using my own desires against me. I had been led into this world by a man who disguised himself as a spiritual guide, but all along, he had been a servant of dark forces, using me as a tool to fulfill their hunger. And in return for my obedience, for my willingness to sacrifice my body and soul, I had gained nothing but emptiness. Success was no longer sweet. It was hollow, a facade. I had everything I could have dreamed of, and yet, I was miserable. I felt as if I was losing my humanity with every passing day, slowly becoming a shell of who I once was. The simple truth is that I wanted to be free. I wanted to reclaim what I had lost. But the road ahead wasn't simple. The grip of the spirits was tight, their influence so deeply woven into my life that I didn't know how to break free. They had woven their web so intricately that it felt like every part of me was entangled, my success, my career, my identity. They were all tied to their demands. And I knew that walking away would cost me everything. But the alternative was far worse. I couldn't keep living in this prison, under the control of forces that cared nothing for me, only for the power I could give them. I had to find a way out. And so, I made the hardest decision of my life. I decided to fight back. It wasn't easy, not by any means. I had no idea where to begin or who to turn to. I couldn't trust the people around me, the ones who had been complicit in my success. They didn't know the truth. They didn't know what I had sacrificed to get where I was. But there was one person I could turn to, someone I had once known before I had fallen into this darkness. An old woman who believed in the power of God. She had always spoken of the true power of God, the light that could break any darkness. And so, I reached out to her, desperate for guidance, unsure if she would even remember me, let alone help me. When she answered the phone, her voice was filled with compassion but also with a quiet strength. Through her advice and guidance, I am no longer a slave to the spirits. The only difference now is that I don't have what I used to have, but I want it this way. I cannot continue to give myself to men and women at the same time and lose myself. What you've just heard is a story of a woman who paid the ultimate price for success. Her journey may seem extreme, but it's a stark reminder that the choices we make in pursuit of power and wealth can lead us down dark paths. No matter where you are in life, never forget the importance of balance, integrity, and staying true to who you are. If you've learned something valuable from this story, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share the lessons, the warnings, and the hope of redemption. We all need to remember that no success is worth losing yourself over.